Beautiful ones, I hope you're all doing great. You're all hanging in there. For those in the East Coast and those that have been affected by the storms, I hope you're all staying safe and you're all doing good. I feel like a lot of the times when we have catastrophes like this, or we have situations where our lives or our livelihoods, I guess in a way, are threatened, it kind of puts a lot of things into perspective, and it helps us to realize what really matters. A lot of the times we realize that what really matters is our health. It's our loved ones. It's our being here is what makes a big difference. And since the last time, or the last video I made, I had mentioned that there were a lot of storms, solar storms, solar flares. It's kind of calmed down after I made that video. I think it was last week, a couple weeks ago, I can't remember. We had like something like 40 solar flares in like less than 3 days. It was a crazy time, and I don't know if you guys felt it. For me, it was very weird. It was like the first 3 days of the week just felt very odd. I just felt like I was really kind of out of body. So I'm glad that that's passed, and realize that what happens with the sun also has an effect on the earth, and again, it has an effect on us. And we're kind of seeing that because look at some of the crazy storms we've had. And I'm not saying that it's all to do with the sun, but it definitely seems to it seems to make the earth a lot more active. So just making a little update on that. It's so difficult for me to even know where to start because there's so much going on right now. Literally, if anyone gives you like an update, it's a lot that's going on right now. And I like I say, to take care of yourself, check in with your body, find out what your body needs. Realize that your body is tied to an infinite intelligence that knows a lot more than you realize that it does, and that it knows exactly what you need in order for you to be in perfect health. So aside from that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the ego and inner child. And this would have to be a really long video for me to cover everything, and I'm still myself learning, and so there's still a lot of things that I'm learning every day about this. So there's this idea, I would say, in a lot of spiritual communities and even just outside of that, of people that are thinking that their ego is the problem, and that the ego needs to be destroyed, and that's really all the problems that we have are based on the ego. Please excuse the noise. I'm right by a freeway. But the thing is that a lot of people say, the ego is evil, and we need to destroy it. We need to get rid of it. And I loved, and I might not be paraphrasing it correctly, but Alan Watts said something to the effect that the biggest ego trip is to think that you can get rid of your ego. And the reason why is because the ego, yes, in a way, it doesn't exist per se, but it does. It's the way that I understand it. And again, I'm still going through my process, and so there may be a lot of understandings that may be affected by that, and for a lot of us that's the case. But from my understanding at this point in my life and my experience is that the ego is something that built up in childhood. It's like a persona, something that we build up in order to protect ourselves. So we come into this world with pure innocence, and as we grow up and as we evolve here, we have different experiences, different traumas, different things that happen that make it so that we have to almost build this protective structure in order to protect ourselves. And this is a structure that a lot of people call ego. And I really believe that a lot of what we call the ego is actually partially the wounded child. And I think about, speaking of inner child, a lot of people I've probably heard that word, and it seems like it's like a something that's not not very real in a way. But I find, at least in my experience, that what I call my inner child is my favorite part, the favorite part of myself. It's the creative part of myself. It's the loving part of myself. It's the innocent, playful, joyful part of myself that I consider my inner child. And a lot of us, have to grow up really fast. Some of us have situations where we're in homes where we're not allowed to be children. That's not acceptable for different reasons. It's not safe. So you have to match the frequency, or you have to match the frequency of the energy that is around you a lot of the times in order for you to survive. So if there's a lot of anger around you, then sometimes you have to almost match that. You either match that anger, or you kind of become smaller so that to protect yourself. But either way, that energy that we call the inner child is always with us. It's a part of us. It doesn't go anywhere. And that's the crazy thing, is because you have so many adults out there that are denying that playfulness, that inner child, that inner innocence that exists inside all of us, no matter how old you are. And they want to just bury it. They want to act like it doesn't exist. They want to take life seriously, and they want to be adults. And I meet teenagers that are like rushing to be adults, and I'm like, you got a whole lifetime to play at being an adult, and only 18 to 20 years at being somewhat of a child. Enjoy it. Don't rush it. And I was one of those people that I rushed to become an adult. I wanted to do all the adult things. And then I've spent most of my years, later on, becoming a child again, learning to become a child again, finding that aspect of myself. And it's freeing my adult self from having to take life so seriously, and having to just, it's almost like you almost become like bitter in like having to, it's all about responsibilities, and you forget to play. And meanwhile, you're this adult, and the inner child is in you, like yelling, like, hey, freedom, I need to do something too, I'm still here. And yet you push it away, and what happens is there's, it has to come out one way or another. That's why I think a lot of people feel depressed. A lot of people feel anxious and feel like their life, doesn't have any joy or any purpose. A lot of the times it's because we take it so seriously, and we forget to play with that aspect of ourselves. We forget to play with that innocence that exists inside of us. And instead, what takes over is what we call the ego, and it's just a structure. It's just a structure that is meant to try to protect you. It's not meant to be your enemy. It's not like something separate from you that is like, trying to like, mess you over or do bad things to you. It's none of that. And so a lot of the times, like I said, we've been told that the ego is bad, and that, we must destroy it. And it's this like energy that we put into like supposedly destroying an aspect of ourselves. And yes, it's true that the ego is not real, in that we invented it, we made it up, we built the structure, but it has energy to it. And the thing is that the ego, a lot of times, like I said, it is the wounded child. It is those wounded aspects of ourselves that need to be looked at. And it's those aspects of ourselves that believe that they needed to protect themselves, and so they needed to build up like an armor, and the armor is the ego. And what I've been learning and what I've been doing, and again, I'm still going through it myself, you guys. I'm sharing this because I am human just like you. Yes, I am a starseed. Yes, but I am still having a fully human experience, and I may not know exactly what your experience is like, but I do believe that humans, we do have this thing that we share. We share the fact that, we all feel emotions a certain way. And I had this experience of realizing that as humanity, we have fallen in a way from grace. Not really, because I feel like grace is always here for us, but we ourselves have shut off from grace, and that's like our falling, right? And now we're rising up, and we're rising up together. And although it doesn't seem like we're rising up together, and you see the world and it may seem like everything is going backwards, there's so many changes going on. There's so much going on in the world right now that would make you think that things are going backwards, but they're not. Things are being exposed. What happens if you have all these things in the dark, and then you bring a flashlight and you illuminate the dark things, you're able to see them. And that's what's happening now. It's almost like a boiling over. All these things were here, you know, racism, everything, all the other things were here that we've just been turning a blind eye to, and now we can't turn a blind eye to it, because now we're upon the time of awakening, upon this ascending time that we have the honor to be a privilege, a part of, a privilege, you know, that we get to be a part of this, and we all signed up for it. We all wanted to be here. There's a long line of people right now wanting to come in and incarnate on this planet, because we all knew what this was going to be like at some level, whether you realize it or not. We knew at some level that this was going to be something unlike anything we've experienced, and that it was going to be massive. The whole universe is aware of what's happening, and I feel like, you know, I say that this earth is ascending, and it already has in many ways, but it's all of the universe. It's everything is like in constant motion, and so as we're moving along, so is the entire universe. But we're doing this all together. None of us are alone, and none of us have to carry all the weight by ourselves. So I get a little bit sidetracked. So this idea of making the ego our enemy, I feel like it's time for us to make friends with our ego, not be in fight or in constant like conflict with ourselves, because whatever you want to call it, whether it's real or not, it's a part of what you are. It's something that we built up individually. We built it, and collectively too, don't get me wrong, there is a collective ego in a way, but it's something that we built up. And it's like, you know, most of us, and I should probably just speak from experience, I spent a whole life beating myself up, putting myself down, and I realized that didn't work. I was miserable. And so for me, it was more, how do I make friends with myself? You know, how do I put my weapons down, because I've been fighting for so long. And like I said, you know, a lot of us, you know, are warriors, and we've been fighting for so long, and it's like all we know. And it's like, once it's time for you to put your weapons down, which is what's happening now. It's happening now for a lot of us. We're wanting to make friends with ourselves. That includes the ego, you know, that definitely includes the inner child, your inner innocence. It's time for us to make friends with ourselves. It's time for us to put our weapons down and stop fighting ourselves, stop fighting each other. That time is gone and past now, you know. I was seeing an image of something in the future that has to do with war, and it had to do with, it was like I don't know, and you know, keep in mind that this is, you know, there's infinite timelines, and so I'll get little glimpses of things that may happen, and it's a possibility that they'll happen. Nothing is 100%. That's why you should always be wary of like predictions and stuff like that, because you never really know. You never really know. You're each in your own timeline, and so you may experience that or you may not. You never know. So I had a glimpse of like this. I mean, maybe it was more like a concept. A nation signing up to not go to war, and have them all keeping each other accountable. And it's like that time of war, it's almost like we're like little kids, like flinging mud and shit at each other still in the playground. Like we haven't grown enough to just stop fighting and like stop making, you know, it's like, no, it's your fault. No, it's your fault, you know, or I want this and you have it, so I'm going to take it from you. It's like we're still like little children that are still growing. And it is that, you know, speaking of the ego, a lot of what you're seeing is a battle of the egos. And it's like if these beings would make peace with themselves, would make peace with that ego, what they call the ego, which requires some healing, because a lot of the wounds from the ego are feeling like you're not good enough, or feeling like, you know, you're on your own and you have to survive, and you know everything is against you, and you know you have to make yourself feel better and look better. But it's never by anything that's already inherent. It's always by, oh, if I have a nicer car, if I have a, you know, prettier face, if I have a bigger butt, you know, whatever. You know, those are the things that like kind of build up, can build up the ego, and you realize that the things that really build your soul, build your being, has nothing to do with the ego. It's nothing to do with anything that's transitory, that only lasts for a little bit. What builds up our worthiness and our value is something that is already within us. It is already what we are, which is why we're not having to sit there and beg and work and compromise to try to have our worth seen, because our worth is already there. There isn't anything else that we need to do. Everything that happens is a byproduct of that worthiness, of that value, of that love that exists within all of us. So I invite you all to put your weapons down. Put your weapons down. Stop fighting yourself. Stop fighting another. It's not working, you guys. We've been doing this we've been flinging mud and freaking throwing sticks at each other for who knows how many, millennia. And now it's like, it's time to stop. That it's not working. And it is something that we are doing together, and it is happening. I know it doesn't seem like it, but it is happening. Have faith, please, that this will pass, and that we are all strong enough and worthy enough to make it through whatever comes our way. I love you all so, so much. Please feel free to message me if you're needing anything, if you have any questions. Have a beautiful day and take care. Bye-bye.